Jeff, do us a favor. Go take a Xanax and try to drill out your sinuses. Let us know how it goes.
First of all, done and done. This is We Bleed Orange and Black, the podcast for Halloween and horror lovers. Join us as we interview creators, discuss our favorite horrors, and share original spooky stories. I'm Jeff C. Carter, and this week we're talking about the new collection, Welcome to Your Body, Lessons in Evisceration. Returning champion Bridget T. Brave is a writer and reluctant lawyer living at the edge of the Ozarks. She's a co-host of the Wandering Monster podcast and Twitch stream, where she stress tests tabletop RPGs. Returning champion Ryan Marie Ketterer is a writer, runner, and coder from Massachusetts. Her work can be found in several anthologies, Clark's World, Dark Matter Magazine, and Cosmic Horror Monthly. Welcome to Your Body is her first foray into the world of editing short fiction. Sasha Brown is a Boston writer whose surreal fiction has appeared in X-Ray, Masters Review New Voices, Bourbon Pen, and Fantasy and Science Fiction. He's a full SIFWA and HWA member. Welcome to the show, gang.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us. Yeah,
it's great to be back.
absolutely.
I have an icebreaker question for you guys. Let's go around the panel. What is the one type of body horror that absolutely ruins you? Is it teeth? Is it eyes? Is it fingers? Everybody's got something.
Compound fractures.
Nice.
Really? That's your answer?
Yeah, it is.
The answer, Bridget.
Yeah, it's pretty gross. I saw one in person once and now I can't handle it.
It put you off compound fractures?
Yeah, I'm no longer a compound fracture fan after that.
When you're watching a Steven Seagal movie and he busts somebody's elbow backwards, you're like, yuck.
It was a junior high basketball game and a girl fell and the bone came through her arm. Surprising amount of green in that experience. So.
Oh, that's horrible.
Did you say green?
Green. Yeah, the place where the bone was broken and protruding from the skin was actually green.
Is it possible she was like a Skrull or like a gremlin of some
I just
kind?
heard that that's what it looks like. Like there's parts of your bone inside that are slightly green tinged, and that's what I was seeing.
That sounds like a cover-up.
Yeah, that sounds like a Skrull lie.
I did go to junior high near a refinery, so it's possible we were just radioactive.
That makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
Sasha, how about you?
Teeth. I the reason I'm always writing about teeth is they really creep me out. I'm not into them. I have a lot of those dreams where they fall out. I've written 2 stories about tooth fairies now. That's my thing.
Feel like we're in a tooth fairy renaissance, but more on that later. Ryan?
The throat, absolutely.
The
and it's
throat.
not just like things happening to the throat because like I start to feel it, but even things when people eat gross things or puke, when I'm reading or watching something, I start feeling like that. I would say Julie's story and Welcome to Your Body still
That
sits
one
with me.
really must have. Ugh.
Yeah.
And it's horrible too.
Yeah. Christmas tinsel. Awful.
Julie's got a story where she wrote about an implant in a person's throat, and she wrote about it in such careful and medical detail that the Christmas tinsel was really a moment. There's a moment where I don't want to spoil or anything, but you're checking on it. It goes really badly. I hated it.
I can't. I love it, but I hate it. Yeah.
Sasha, can you tell us more about your contribution, Braces?
Almost all my stories start with dumb jokes with my writer friends. So this story started with Stalker Tooth Fairy. We laughed a little bit about it. And then I take the dumb joke and I say, like, well, what if I pretended that it wasn't a dumb joke? I try to play it serious. Sometimes it works and usually doesn't. So this story got into talking about healthcare and stuff. And I think Ryan helped me focus it because she's the best editor that's ever walked the earth. But it came out of like it being a silly idea that a grown-up would leave her tooth under the pillow and then the tooth fairy would be like, oh man, grown-up teeth are wild. I need more of those.
In your story, Sasha, someone is barricading their mouth.
Yeah, as one does. So
As one
when the
does.
tooth fairy is stealing your teeth, you dive into the dumpster of a dentist office and you get some old braces and you super glue them into your mouth.
You said earlier that you have multiple tooth fairy stories beyond just your grim fascination with tooth-based body horror. What is it about the tooth fairy that compels you?
I think they're silly, but they're also scary. And I like that, the intersection of silly and scary. You know, the idea that the tooth fairy, sometimes they're depicted wearing a tutu and they've got like a little wand with a star on the end, but they're sneaking into your bedroom to steal your teeth. So that's awful. I really like exploring that area.
I would say that teeth are offered up. They're not sneaking in to steal them, and they pay a fair price.
Yeah, but the fact that you'd be like, here's part of my body. If anybody wants to climb through my window tonight, I'm just going to leave it under my pillow and maybe you'll leave me a quarter. It's still gross.
If you say so, man. Seems normal to me. I don't know. I guess it's the way I was raised. I opened my mouth and I'm just nerves dangling. I have no teeth left.
Oh.
Oh, it's terrible. Dude.
Sorry. Ryan, what was it about Sasha's story that attracted you to it?
As soon as teeth were involved, I was nervous. In that good way you get when you start reading a horror story, you're like, where's this going to go? And then it's about teeth, and you're like, oh no, oh no, 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 no. And then we get to the cinder block scene, which I won't say any more than that. And I was covering my eyes as I'm reading because it's one of those scenes where you know exactly what's going to happen, and yet you can't look away. And that scene right there was, this is what I was going for, like in this anthology. This is the type of stuff I wanted.
Hopefully not everyone has experience firsthand with compound fractures like Bridget does, but all of us lose teeth. That is a body horror that everyone experiences. And I think that's what makes it such a rich vein to tap into.
Absolutely.
And I should say, I have a kid who is 8 now. So he's recently been through that phase where they're wiggling it at the dining room table and they'll yank it out and there's like a bloody root and they're blood dripping and they're so pleased with themselves. So it's been kind of in the family.
Yeah, just like I haven't lost a tooth. I'm lucky, in recent memory, like since I had my wisdom teeth out. But I have those dreams where my teeth are falling out. Sasha mentioned that earlier. And those are the most horrifying dreams you can have. Nightmares, I guess.
I have never had that dream. And
You should try it.
I mean, well, I did once have a nightmare where I looked in the mirror and clipped my own teeth out with a set of nail clippers, but I've never lost my teeth.
That's so much worse, though.
I know.
Turn that into a short story, please.
I've been thinking about it.
All right, I feel like that's a good transition into your story, Bridget. Can you tell us about Deeper?
Well, yeah, it combines two of my biggest fears.
Is it bachelorette parties?
Bachelorette parties, yes, is one of my big fears. And the other one is sinus surgery because I've had it 3 times. And I'm always like paranoid about, I have this weird paranoia that I'm going to wake up during surgery. And that's just like them in my face seems like it'd be the worst way to wake up because I had a deviated septum and now I have to have frequent recorrective surgery. Whenever I have a blockage in my sinuses, my best friend and I joke about it. And I'm like, I'm just going to take a drill and I'm going to clear it out myself. And she's like, do it, just do it. So I wrote a story about a woman doing that. It ended up being way more visceral and gross than I was planning when I started out. It also combined a personal story, which is, they make these little nail caps for cats that you can put on so they don't scratch up your furniture. And the first time I put the nail caps on my cat, I accidentally glued my own fingers together. So I wanted to include the element of, there's another theme. We have super glue just happening in there because I discovered that's actually just what that is. It's just Gorilla Glue. That's what they use to glue those nail caps on.
As Sasha alluded to, there's also a bachelorette party component to this.
Yeah, that's why she is drilling out her own face, is so that she can be part of the mermaid freediving photo that's taking place at the bachelorette party. I don't know, they used to be a single night, and now it's like they expect you to go for an entire week and like do all this crap and everything. And I don't have time for that. So
I was lucky enough to hear you perform a reading of a story at the Spirited Giving event that kicked off StokerCon. That one sideswipes Gwyneth Paltrow and Goop and the female self-care industrial complex. Between that and Deeper, I feel like there is some friction with your writing and some of these expectations that are put on women.
Yeah, I definitely chafe at most gendered things. So yeah, I think that is a fair assessment. I just wanted to play Little League and play video games, man. Nobody would let me.
Mermaids don't play Little League.
They don't.
So, Ryan, how did you come across this? Did you know about this from the outset, or did you just hear rumors on the dark web that Bridget had some story that was getting rejected from every other outlet?
Well, Bridget, correct me if I'm wrong, you originally wrote this for the Open Call Shredded, the
Yes.
anthology, which was a sports horror anthology, edited by Eric Ragland. Great guy. Love him. I believe I critiqued that story right after Bridget wrote it. We've been critique partners for a few years now. And I read that and I was absolutely horrified. And I was like, if this doesn't get accepted, what is he doing? It did get rejected.
Turns out at-home surgery, not a sport.
Right.
Well, it was originally about a free diver, and I changed it a little bit later on.
So I'm so glad. Sorry, Bridget. I'm so glad it got rejected so many times, because when we were forming this idea for this anthology, Bridget's like, would you want to take my nose drilling story? And I was like, abso-freaking-lutely. I would love it. So I knew about it for a bit before this anthology idea even came about.
And fun fact, it's also my mother's favorite out of everything I've written.
No.
Yeah.
Mom has good taste.
Yeah.
Mom has good
Oh,
taste.
cool.
She was always asking me, she's like, when are you going to do something with the drill story? Where is that going?
My mom won't read my stories. What I love about your story, Bridget, is there's this sense of glee about it for me. Like, not the glee comes from you, the author, writing it. I just picture you snickering, and the way you pile chaos on top of it, come up with the idea, and then you just start sort of like mounding chaos over it and until it gets deeply off the rails, while always like, you know what you're doing, but for the experience as the reader is like, holy shit, we're so far out. That's what I really love about it. It's that sense of wild abandon.
Yeah, I think you actually said one of my favorite comments about it. You were one of the people that read it when I put it in the critique group, and you said, holy shit, you just went for it. And
Yeah.
I was kind of amazed too, because that was not my style of writing before that at all. And now I feel like I've leaned in a little bit more to the gore.
I think piling chaos is 100% accurate. But you can see how it would spin out the way it does. I mean, it starts off with something that's totally insane, but someone is going about it as carefully as they can. And then as soon as it starts to wobble, oh my gosh, then we are just plunged into chaos, body horror, madness, gore, mutilation,
I get the
anarchy.
distinct impression that Jeff thinks he could pull this off better.
I want him to try. I mean, Jeff, do us a favor, go take a Xanax and try to drill out your sinuses. Let us know how it goes.
First of all, done and done. I got you right there. Right there with you. Hold on. All right.
He's gonna try. You're gonna need video for this one, buddy.
Oh, ooh.
No, this is a
What is
I like
that?
that you have this ready.
no,
Yeah.
it's a massage gun
Oh, okay.
thing. The Theragun.
It kind of looked like it was designed to drill out sinuses. So
Yeah.
yeah.
It might feel good. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know if I have a deviated septum, but my nose did break once or twice, and you could probably hear my lovely nasal drone. Sometimes when I get really clogged up and I do have sinus issues, I will put the Theragun like up under my eye and like just to get stuff moving.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Bridget knows what I'm talking about. Sorry, a little too real. Little too much information.
I like it.
Beyond just the theme of body horror, there is an anatomical sort of flow.
Yeah. So my thought process was body horror is a great subgenre of horror, right? And I love body horror stories, but I think most body horror stories have something more to them. Or there could be other types of horror out there that can be about the body that don't necessarily need to be body horror. So when I set out to collect stories for this anthology, I was like, how cool would it be if we could walk kind of through the different parts of the human body and have a horror story about each of them? Can it be body horror? Sure. That would be great. I love body horror. But does it have to be? No. It could be psychological horror. It could be cosmic horror. It could be any type of horror that you want to do. And I think, all the authors took that and ran with it. Obviously, many of the stories focus on some form of body horror, but I think every story in its own way goes a lot deeper than just straight up gore, straight up body horror.
Yeah, Jeff, you brought up a Jang story in Four Haircuts earlier, which is like a really subtle and sophisticated story. Jonathan Hart's story goes significantly beyond the body. So a lot of people went in some really interesting directions here.
Absolutely.
I can always count on Ai Zhang to come at a story from an angle that I've never seen before.
Mm-hmm.
Another story I want to call out is Telling Tales by Chris O'Halloran. I love this guy. I've been a fan of his writing since the first time I've seen it. I hated this story.
Do you have misophonia, Jeff?
Yes, as someone with misophonia, as someone who records podcasts and edits them, it is the weirdest kind of self-inflicted torture. Be like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
someone's got some mouth sound there. Let me listen to it 100 times as I chop it out. Oh, God, his description in this story was brutal. It was killing me. It is one of the only stories in the collection that I was almost unable to finish because it was so upsetting.
That's
Yeah, I agree.
amazing.
It's terrible.
I'm like super conscious now about the noises I might be making. So I don't
Oh,
think
yeah,
I'm a loud
that's
mouth person, but
We all have microphones up to our mouth, which is a very unnatural situation. And so I try not to draw attention to it, but it's hard not to in the context of Chris O'Halloran's story. Telling
I'm
Tales.
glad he hit it on the head. I'm glad that it worked for you because I read it. I obviously loved the story, but I'm also not a podcast editor. I don't have misophonia. So to me, I hear noises and I'm like, they're annoying, but I don't really care. So the story was great, but to hear it hit home so well for you, that's amazing.
Yeah, I don't know if Chris has it.
There's this one moment in Chris's story where he's getting driven insane by the sound of his cat eating. And that really, I can't be in the same room as my dog when he eats. So it really speaks to me. I do have misophonia. It was a terrible story. I loved it too.
I spoke to the host of Talking Scared at Stoker's, and he also has misophonia. And we're like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Why are we drawn to recording mouths and then editing them? Does anyone feel up to the task of summarizing Wandering But Not Lost?
I can do it because I just was selling this book last night in a market and I had a few people see the uteri sticker, the glitterous as we call it, because it's glittery. And they were like, well, what is that? Why do you have it on your table? So Wandering But Not Lost is a story about uteri that wander. And what that means is when a girl becomes a woman, her uterus will leave her body and it will go to this beautiful pool in a cave and where it remains until that woman is ready to have children. And that sets the scene. The horror comes in when a misogynistic asshole of a doctor moves to the town, learns about this tradition, and things go about how you'd expect.
I got to hear Plim read from this, and I was blown away. It is so well written. The language in it is so beautiful. It's so imaginative. I really felt like she had leveled up her writing incredibly with this one.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. This story, from the first time I read it to the last time I read it, it just got better every single time. It's beautiful.
It's really
I think
gorgeous.
it's probably her best story, or at least her favorite of mine from hers.
I think one of the things it does so well, what we're all trying to do all the time when we write horror, at least I am, is it's truly scary and disturbing, but it's also about something that has deeper themes and resonance. And she pulls it off without seeming like she's forcing it or straining at all. It's really elegantly done.
It's such an interesting way of disassociating a body part and making it this other thing. And it has a touch of whimsy to it until the horror comes in. It really disarms you and it gets to the core of examining a body part that just makes it so perfect for this collection.
Absolutely. It's horror that says something.
Hmm.
And that's my favorite type of horror. I love gory, gross stuff. But when horror actually says something about society, about our world, about anything with a deeper meaning, that's where it becomes more meaningful for me.
And honestly, until it takes the left turn, it sounds pretty ideal. I mean, having a uterus, I would love to be able to send it off and not have to deal with
Right?
it. Yeah, that sounds perfect.
Absolutely. Take it out.
Drop it off at the pool.
Yeah,
All right, kids.
have a good time.
Here's $10 for the snack bar.
Would you guys say that this story's cosmic horror?
I don't know if I see it as cosmic.
See
I
it
don't
as
know.
cosmic
I
horror.
do agree that Clem's subgenre is absolutely cosmic. She writes incredible cosmic horror, but I don't know if I see this one as cosmic.
Maybe Slim is just cosmic horror.
Everything comes through the prism of cosmic horror that is her.
The tentacled prism.
Yes, but I think this is a very human story. It feels very here and now, very relevant. It doesn't feel like an impersonal cosmos is inflicting its will upon these puny humans, which is how I view cosmic horror.
Yeah, absolutely. It's too real, even though there's uteri wandering, right? Like even though there's this fantastical element, it still feels so grounded in reality.
All right, so clearly that one's your favorite, Ryan.
I think it's
Nope.
everybody's favorite, kind of.
I refuse to say a favorite.
Ryan, this is your first beautiful baby book. How are people receiving it?
From what I've seen and from what people have told me, it has been very well received. We've gotten a great response from the early ARC readers up till now, a few months after release. All very, very great reviews. People absolutely got what I was trying to do with this collection. I've had people actually say, is this body horror or is this horror about the body? And just having someone ask me that question, I was like, oh my God, they get it. Obviously, it would not have happened without the stories from Bridget, Sasha, and the 15 other authors. They absolutely nailed it. All I had to do was go through and read them and edit and organize it. It's incredible. And I'm overjoyed with how it's been received.
Can you tell us a bit about the illustrations?
Absolutely, yeah. So, speaking of Clem, she actually did all the interior art. So when I originally came up with the idea for this anthology, I was like, I want every story to have a detailed medical drawing with like an element of horror in it. And I didn't want it to just be like a piece of art right at the start. I wanted it to be a piece of art that was kind of part of the story. So as you're reading it, you get this art presented to you. I sent Clem tons of creepy, weird, old images from medical textbook. This, but like creepier.
That you just had available on your desktop.
Yeah. I mean, I did a lot of research. I'm definitely on some lists, but it's fine. Worth it. But she took this and ran with it and absolutely blew my mind and went so far above and beyond what I was expecting. This art, it's her best art to date. It's absolutely mind-blowing art. That's something that people have called out every time they've talked about the anthology.
The advanced reader copy that I had, I was reading it on like a little Kindle. So I just had a little shrunken black and white thing. And I thought it was just a little custom thing in between chapters or like in between scene breaks. And so I was just scrolling past it. It didn't occur to me that each one was bespoke. And so then I went to my computer and I looked at it on the big screen and I was like, oh my gosh, these are so cool. And they're so effective. It's a value add on each story.
Yeah.
I was really, really impressed with the artwork in this.
Yeah, it blew my mind. I'm still obsessed with it.
Tattoo?
That's a good idea.
I mean, I love tattoos, so I'm not saying it's out of the realm of possibility. I have below my left knee is my book leg. There's only 2 so far.
2 legs?
2 tattoos
Oh.
on that part of my leg.
Left leg books, right leg movies, left arm video games, right arm podcasts? I'm just saying.
Just write true crime across my forehead. That's podcasts.
So with one book under your belt, is there any interest in doing a follow-up?
Yeah, what's next, Ryan?
Probably not anytime soon. I really got to get back to writing.
Mm-hmm.
I took a lot of time off to do the marketing and editing, and I poured all my free time into that book up till release and even after it. And then I've basically signed offline and not really done much in the writing or editing sphere since a little bit after release. But when I come back to it, I'll be doing more focusing on writing rather than editing. I'll probably edit again, but nothing planned currently.
What are you guys all working on now, and what do you have coming down the pipeline? Bridget, I'm going to throw it to you.
I think my next 2 projects are both set for October. I'm in the Fragile anthology, which was based on a prompt we were given of a man unpacking an apartment and what's in the box. And we rolled a die. I got Gwyneth Paltrow's head. So it's a story that's actually gotten me a lot of traction. That's the goopy story we were talking about earlier. And then I am in Hospital of Haunts from Water Tower Hill Press, which is coming out in October. Really excited about that one. We each got a different part of the hospital and we had to write a ghost into that part of the hospital. And then I am co-editing my first anthology coming up. Details will be available when that is available. And I'm writing for a video game and 2 tabletops right now.
Awesome.
And Bridget?
Sasha?
I'll be in Weird Horror in September and Interstellar Flight Press in October.
I wanted to bring up the cover. We didn't talk about the cover of this book. This is the one where I think I have had the biggest reaction to a cover of a book I've been in because my mother keeps it face down. She won't even look at it. It bothers her so much.
It's terrible.
She keeps a drill on top of it.
Yeah, just like, no, can't look at it. She's like, this is a great book. I hate the cover. I can't look at it.
All right, Ryan, tell us about this beautiful cover.
Yeah, so there's a artist, Vexed Works. It's Vexed, VEXED _ works, WORKS, on Instagram. And I'd been following him for quite some time just because I thought he had creepy, weird art. Then when this project kind of came about, I was like, who's that artist on Instagram I really like? So I went and found some of my favorite body kind of related options and let the authors vote. They voted on this one, and then we had Emma Halstead do cover design, and she did an incredible job. Again, we had some different font and layout options. Let everyone vote on those. Very much a community decision and effort. But yeah, Daniel Anderson, that's the artist at Vexworks on Instagram. I bought it on ArtGrab. It's an art site.
Perfect in every way.
It is, yeah, it really is.
This is the nicest looking book I've ever been a part of.
It's gorgeous. I love it.
Yeah, big props to Emma Halstead, like I said, for doing, she did the whole cover design, front and back, as well as the entire interior. I basically directed on like order of things and like where the images should go, and she just did the rest of the work. All the credit goes to her for making it look as gorgeous as it is.
Do you know what you're going to work on next?
Yeah, so I have a story come out in Cosmic Horror Monthly sometime before November. I'm not sure exactly which issue yet, but it's my story that I read at StokerCon. For anyone that was at that, that was The Netting on My Feet, which somehow drew a huge crowd. I don't know if it was the other people that were there, but the room was full and I had people coming up to me all weekend asking where they could read that. So really excited for that story to come out. I also have a couple other stories recently written that are out on sub. So hopefully they get picked up. I haven't been writing. I've been doing a lot of just hiking and being outside this summer. But as the weather worsens, I'll be probably back at the computer doing more again.
Nice. Where can our listeners find you guys online?
SashaBrownWriter.com.
I am at Ryan Marie 47 on all social media, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, everything. I have a link tree as well, which you can find linked on my Twitter and Instagram.
And I am BD Brave. That's BEEDEE Brave everywhere online, including bdbrave.com.
Well, guys, thanks for hanging out.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us.
Please subscribe and follow. Links are in the show notes. You can find me at jeffccarter.com and hit the link to pick up my collection, We Bleed Orange and Black, 31 fun-sized tales for Halloween. Until next time, stay spooktacular.